Coffee is the only socially acceptable drug that we aggressively market to people before they've even brushed their teeth. Every morning, millions of us perform a legal chemical experiment on our central nervous systems just to reach the baseline human setting required to answer an email. But somewhere along the way, coffee stopped being just liquid fuel and became architecture. We took roasted beans, hot water, milk, foam, ice, sugar, chocolate, and emotional instability, and built an entire global operating system for tired people. Espresso, Americano, cappuccino, latte, flat white, macchiato, mocha, cold brew, Turkish coffee, Vietnamese coffee, filter coffee. At some point, ordering coffee stopped being a drink choice and became an oral exam in liquid form. So today, we're breaking down the blueprint of every major coffee style, the ratios, the engineering, the cultural chaos, and exactly what your morning order says about your emotional stability. Welcome to Taste Blueprint. Let's get caffeinated. We begin with the foundation, espresso. This is not a beverage. This is a threat. Espresso is a tiny shot of highly concentrated coffee made by forcing hot water through finely ground coffee under pressure. Tiny cup, massive attitude. It has a dark body, an intense flavour, and a golden layer on top called creamer, which coffee purists discuss like it's a religious artifact. Espresso is coffee after military training. Small, bitter, intense, efficient. If you drink straight espresso, you don't want comfort, you want results. You don't sip your morning, you execute it. And almost every major cafe drink begins here, which makes espresso the main character of the coffee universe. Not the friendly main character, the one who walks into a room and everyone lowers their voice. But eventually humans looked at espresso and thought, what if this was less aggressive and lasted longer than 2 emotionally violent sips? That gives us the Americano. An Americano is espresso plus hot water, that's it. It is watered down anxiety. The story goes that American soldiers in Europe found Italian espresso too intense, so they diluted it with hot water to make it closer to the coffee they were used to back home. America looked at it and said, "Can I get this in a larger cup?" An Americano gives you the bitterness of espresso, but with enough volume to survive a corporate meeting. It's still serious, just less hostile. Closely related is the long black. A long black is also espresso and hot water, but the order is different. Hot water goes first, espresso goes on top. This keeps more creamer and gives the drink a stronger aroma. So basically, the long black is an Americano with better posture, same ingredients, more confidence. Now we enter the dairy sector. This is where coffee stops being chemistry and starts becoming fluid architecture. First, the cappuccino. A cappuccino is usually built with espresso, steamed milk, and milk foam. The classic idea is balance. Coffee, milk, foam. A proper cappuccino is like a well-dressed Italian person, simple, stylish, and somehow making everyone else look underprepared. The foam matters because it gives the drink texture, not big, sad soap bubbles. Good cappuccino foam should be smooth, creamy, and dense. The espresso has to fight its way through a cloud barrier, but if the barista ruins it, congratulations, you're drinking a warm cup of bath bubbles with caffeine trauma. Next, the latte. If cappuccino is a stylish cloud, latte is an adult blanket. A latte is espresso with a lot more steamed milk and just a thin layer of foam. It is smooth, soft, mild, comforting, and deeply non-threatening. Latte is what happened when espresso went to therapy. Let's be honest. A lot of latte drinkers don't actually want coffee. They want warm milk that had a brief conversation with a roasted bean. And that's okay. The latte knows its job. It doesn't attack you. It holds your hand while you open your laptop and pretend Monday is manageable. Then there's the flat white. The flat white is where people start getting slightly too serious. It's similar to a latte, but usually smaller, stronger, and made with velvety microfoam. Less milk than a latte, more coffee flavour, smoother texture. Flat white drinkers usually want you to know they did not order a latte. They will correct you. Now we have the macchiato. The word macchiato means marked or stained. A traditional espresso macchiato is just espresso marked with a little bit of milk foam. Tiny, strong, slightly softened. It exists for people who want espresso, but also want their stomach lining to survive the meeting. But then corporate coffee chains got involved, and suddenly a macchiato became a giant caramel milk tower with whipped cream, syrup, drizzle, and the structural integrity of a birthday cake. Traditional macchiato. Espresso with a little milk. Modern chain macchiato, a dessert that misplaced its identity. Both exist. Only one of them needs a financial advisor. Next, cortado. A cortado is espresso cut with a small amount of warm milk, not too foamy, not too milky, not too dramatic. The milk softens the acidity, but the coffee still leads. Cortado is the emotionally stable person in the coffee group chat. It doesn't need whipped cream. It doesn't need a mountain of foam. It doesn't need to explain itself for 8 minutes. It just shows up, does the job, and leaves with dignity. Now let's talk about mocha. Mocha is espresso milk, and chocolate, which means mocha is what happens when coffee stops pretending to be serious. And honestly, fair. Mocha is hot chocolate that got a job. It's sweet, warm, rich, and clearly designed for people who want caffeine, but also emotional support. Coffee purists may judge it, but coffee purists also spend 15 minutes arguing about water temperature. So maybe we don't need their approval. Mocha knows exactly what it is, a cozy dessert weapon, and sometimes that's all civilization needs. Now let's leave the milk matrix and enter the cold sector. First, iced coffee. Iced coffee is usually brewed coffee that gets chilled and served over ice. Simple idea, dangerous execution, because good iced coffee is refreshing. Bad iced coffee tastes like someone punished hot coffee by abandoning it in the fridge. The main enemy is dilution. As ice melts, the coffee gets weaker, which is why some places use coffee ice cubes. That is no longer a drink. That is engineering. Then we have cold brew. Cold brew is made by steeping coffee grounds in cold water for many hours, often 12 to 24, because apparently even coffee needed a slow cinema version. No heat, just patience. The result is smoother, less acidic, and often dangerously strong. Cold brew doesn't shout, it waits. It lets you finish the cup. Then suddenly your heart starts performing background music for a nightclub scene. Cold brew looks calm, but it is chaos in minimalist packaging. Now we must address the blended coffee drink, the frappuccino-style drink, the frozen caramel mountain. This is where coffee leaves the office and joins the amusement park. Blended ice, milk, sugar, syrups, whipped cream, chocolate drizzle. At this point, coffee is barely involved. It's standing in the background like I was invited, technically. These drinks are delicious, but many of them are not coffee. They are milkshakes that read one productivity book. If you drink one at 7 in the morning, you are not looking for energy. You are looking for dessert with a calendar invite. And honestly, I respect the commitment to chaos. Let's go global. Turkish coffee. Turkish coffee is one of the oldest and most intense coffee traditions. It's made by boiling very finely ground coffee with water, often in a small pot called a çezve. The grounds are not filtered out, so the coffee is thick, strong and serious. This is not casual coffee. This is coffee that has seen empires rise and fall. Turkish coffee doesn't ask if you're ready. It tells you a story, leaves sediment at the bottom, and possibly predicts your future. Compared to modern cafe drinks, it feels ancient, like coffee before it discovered Wi-Fi. Then there's Vietnamese coffee. Vietnamese coffee is often brewed through a small metal filter called a fin, usually with sweetened condensed milk. And this drink is dangerous because it looks cute, then hits like a caffeinated dessert hammer. The condensed milk makes it sweet, thick and creamy, but underneath that sweetness is serious coffee power. Vietnamese iced coffee is especially elite. Cold, sweet, strong, fully capable of making you believe you can reorganize your entire life at 11 p.m. Then we have South Indian filter coffee. This is not just coffee, this is emotion with steam. It's made using strong coffee decoction, hot milk and sugar, often poured back and forth between a tumbler and dabara to create froth. That pouring motion is not decoration. That is performance art. South Indian filter coffee is smooth, strong, aromatic and deeply comforting. It doesn't taste like a cafe trend. It tastes like someone's home has better quality control than most global chains. This coffee doesn't need whipped cream. It has legacy. Now, affogato. An affogato is espresso poured over vanilla ice cream or gelato, which means Italy looked at dessert and said, what if this also caused alertness? Hot espresso melts into cold ice cream, creating a bittersweet contrast. It's not fully coffee. It's not fully dessert. It's a classy identity crisis in a cup. And honestly, one of humanity's better decisions. So what did we learn? Coffee started as a bitter bean drink. Then humans added pressure, then water, then milk, then foam, then chocolate, then ice, then condensed milk, then whipped cream, then ice cream. And somehow every version says something different about us. Espresso says, I have no time. Americano says, I want pain but slowly. Latte says, I need comfort. Flat white says, I know what microfoam is. Macchiato says, I'm intense, but I brought a tiny pillow. Mocha says, I wanted dessert, but made it professional. Cold brew says, I enjoy calm chaos. Frappuccino says, this is technically breakfast. Turkish coffee says, respect the ancestors. Vietnamese coffee says, sweetness is not weakness. South Indian filter coffee says, your cafe could never. Coffee did not evolve because humans needed energy. It evolved because humans refused to suffer plainly. We needed our stress hot, cold, foamed, iced, sweetened, blended, pressurized, and served in cups with names we pretend to understand. Because despite all the ratios, the engineering, the foam architecture, and the global traditions, and most of us drink coffee for the same ancient reason. We are tired, slightly unstable, and expected to behave professionally before noon. And honestly, if civilization runs on coffee, then the espresso machine is basically a tiny office generator with emotional damage.